Hi, my name is Beatrice Zaluski, and earlier today I went and took a look at the historical Casey Farm, located right off of Boston Neck Road in Saunderstown, Rhode Island. Before Casey Farm was built, the Narragansett people and their ancestors lived on the land and the surrounding area of Casey Farm. In March of 1702, the Casey Farm property was bought by Joseph Morey, the first Casey ancestor, which was passed on to his daughter Mary after his death. In 1750, the original farmhouse was built, which still stands today. The last heir of Casey Farm, Edward Pierce Casey, left the farm to historic New England to preserve and operate the farm. Since his death in 1940, historic New England has been operating Casey Farm as a working farm and preserving its history. Casey Farm was one of the many Rhode Island plantations that utilized forced slave labor of many indigenous and African people to care for crops, animals, and farm labor. Casey Farm, as the rest of Rhode Island and New England, profited very heavily off of the slave trade and forced slave labor. Therefore, it's important to recognize so much of the New England that we know today has been shaped and built by the forced enslavement of people. It is also important to note how the land Casey Farm thrives off of, along with the land around it, originally belonged to the indigenous Narragansett and Niantic peoples. Casey Farm and the land surrounding it is a part of the devastating history of brought disease, war, and enslavement to indigenous peoples, as well as the African people that were brought over by the Atlantic slave trade. As a way to give back, the Rhode Island Slave History Medallions has placed a medallion on site in the front side of the farmhouse at Casey Farm to raise public awareness of Rhode Island's role within the institution of slavery. The historic Casey Farm is deeply intertwined with both New England and the sea due to its history, geographic location on Narragansett Bay, and its current management by Historic New England. During the 18th century, Casey Farm produced food for both local and foreign markets, which was made possible by its proximity to Newport, which was a major New England shipping port at the time. Places such as Casey Farm demonstrate the rich and culturally significant history which makes New England and the United States what it is today. Along with that, though, it's important to recognize how these places and the history of this land put down and dehumanized both the native indigenous community as well as the African Americans which were brought here against their will. Overall, I learned a lot about how historically significant Casey Farm is within Rhode Island and New England in general, and I hope from this video you can too. Thank you.